Hey everyone, this is Mr. Molo for lesson 5-6, graphing linear inequalities in two variables. So two variables, what they mean is just our x and our y like we're used to graphing. So kind of starts off here with exploration 1. It says write an equation for the line. So remember our equations always start off with y equals, and then we're going to be looking for the y-intercept, which I can see right there is -3, and then our slope. So it looks like it's going up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. So that's just x or 1x. Then you should see that below this line here, it's a little darker gray. So anything below the line here is shaded below the line. That's going to be our answer when these are inequalities here. So it asks B, and words describe the solution to the inequality. And it's pretty much everything below the line. So that's going to be our solution. And I'll give you an example here once we do C, and then we write it out and we could test out a point. So everything below the line. Now it wants us to write the inequality. So we're going to do the same thing. It's still a y and it's still an x minus 3. But now we have to write out what the inequality would look like. You could see that the line here is kind of dashed. It's not a solid line. So dashed lines only happen when it's a less than or greater than sign. And if you have a solid line, that means it includes that point. So it's equal to. It's kind of like when you used to graph on a number line. When we would graph inequalities, if the circle was filled in, it's equal to. If the circle is not filled in, it's not equal to. It's just less than or greater than. It's the same thing here. Less than or greater than have a dotted line. Less than or greater than or equal to have a filled in line. Okay, so since we're shading below the line, below is going to be a less than sign. Okay, so that's going to be our equation. So I'll kind of show you what I was talking about before. We're going to test out a point here. So I'll just test out that point, which is 5, -5. So if I put that in for my x and my y, is this equation true? So if I do -5 is less than, and my x is 5, so 5 minus 3. So I have -5 is less than 2. That is a true statement. -5 is less than 2. That's why that part of the graph is shaded. If I picked a point that's not shaded, we'll just make this easy and pick 0, 0. So 0, 0 is not shaded now. If I plug that in, this shouldn't be true. So let's do it again. So y is 0 is less than x is 0 minus 3. 0 is less than -3. Well, there we go. That's not true. 0 is not less than -3, so it is not true. So you'll kind of see this white part up here that's not shaded. This is everything that's not an answer for this problem. This gray part down here that is shaded, and I reshaded it with red, that's everything that is an answer. So we're going to be having to look whether it's a less than sign or greater than sign and looking through that. So if we look at some more examples here on the next page, I have y is greater than x plus 5. So same thing as before. I'm going to put my first dot and wherever the y-intercept is, which in this case is 5. I'm going to put my next couple dots where my slope is. So my slope here is positive 1x. That means up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. And what's nice about this is, especially since this is a greater than sign, I'm just going to have a dotted line anyway. So I'm just going to keep it as a dotted line. Okay, and it says y is greater than. Okay, remember if it's greater than, we're going to shade above the line. So anything above this line would be an answer. So again, if I were to pick a random point, as long as it's in this purple area, yes, it would make that inequality true. If I pick something down here below this purple line, it would be false. Okay, let's look at B here. So y is less than or equal to. So now I have the equal to. So I know this is going to be a solid line here. So same thing. I'm going to start with my +1. And then I'm going to go down 1 over 2 because that's my slope. Down 1 over 2. Okay, and since it's an equal to, that's going to be a solid line there, not a dashed line like on A. And again, it is a less than sign here. So everything below this line is going to be a possible answer to that inequality. So if you pick any point below that line, it should be an answer to that inequality. If you look at C, I have -x minus 5. So again, starting with my y-intercept, -5. And then I'm going to go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And let's try and connect these dots as straight as I can. And this is a greater than or equal to sign. So solid line, and then it's a greater than sign. So I'm going to color everything above the line there. And if we look at those example problems here, so the first 6 are just pretty much asking, is this a solution? So kind of checking our work if you'd like to pick a point there. So if I plug in these numbers for x and y, is it a solution? So remember, x comes first, then y. So it says x plus y is greater than 5. So 3 plus 2 is greater than 5. Well, 3 plus 2 is 5, and 5 is not bigger than 5. So that's not going to work. If I had an equal to sign in there, then we could say yes. But 5 is not bigger than 5. They're equal to each other. Kind of like number 2. So same thing. That's x, that's y. And I have x minus y. And I have 5 minus 3 is greater than or equal to 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. So yes, 2 is greater than or equal to 2. So that's going to be a yes. Then you'll see they just get a little more complicated after this. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing. There's x, there's y, and it's just more math there. So now my x is -1. Now it's a 2y, so I actually have to do some multiplying. And that has to be less than or equal to 4. So -1 plus 4 is less than or equal to 4. And yep, that's going to give me 3 is less than or equal to 4. And that is true. 3 is less than or equal to 4. So it's going to be a yes. Same thing as 4, 5, 6. You're just plugging in the numbers, doing the math, seeing if they're there. Okay. These first couple ones here, they're all going to be straight lines. And the reason I can tell they're all going to be straight lines is because of how they're written. It's just y is less than, y is greater than. And then we got x is greater than, x is less than or equal to y. So there's not really a slope here. So that's why I know they're just going to be straight lines. So if I do y is less than 4, so that means I'm looking at 4 on my y line here, which is going to be all these numbers. Again, it's a dotted line because it's just y is less than, not less than or equal to. And everything less than 4. Well, anything less than 4 is like 3, 2, 1, 0, all these negative numbers down here. So anything below that is going to get colored in there. Second one, y is greater than -1. So here's where y is -1. Again, it's a greater than sign, not an equal to sign. So I'm just going to do a dotted line there. And anything greater than -1. Well, numbers greater than -1 are like 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So everything above this line would be an answer. Next one, x is greater than 3. So now it's x. So it's going to shift to my x-axis. So now I got 3. Everything greater than 3 is numbers like 4 and 5. And then everything else that's off this scale to the right. But 4 and 5 are the only thing on the scale. Here we got some equal to. So x is less than -1. So I'm going to put a straight line since it's equal to. None of the dashed lines like I did on the first 3. And anything less than -1. So that's going to get shaded all the way over here. Like -2, -3, -4, -5. And all those left of the graph that we can't see. Same thing with number 11 here. So y is less than -2. So put a horizontal line there at -2. And all the numbers, whoops, that's +2, Mr. Molo. -2. So anything less than that, so like -3, -4, -5, -6, all those. And then last one, x is greater than -2. So I'm going to put a dashed line here. And -2 and anything greater than -2, which is like -1 and then 0. And then all these lovely positive numbers over here. All right. And then the next page kind of gives you examples, kind of like what we did on that first page there. So I'll do a couple of these because especially these, some of these at the end aren't in y equals form, so they might be a little more difficult. So here's y is less than 3x plus 1. So again, always start at our y-intercept. And this time I'm going to go up 3 over 1 because my slope is 3. So up 3 and right 1. And then since it's just a less than and not a less than or equal to sign, I'm going to have a dash line here. That doesn't look very straight. And then a less than. So I'm going to shade below here. Remember, less than shades below, greater than shades above the line. If you're ever confused about which one's below and which one's above, then just pick a number. Usually I like to pick 0, 0. If 0, 0 works, then shade it. If it doesn't, then don't shade it. Y is greater than or equal to -1 plus x. So I have a plus 1 there as my y-intercept, and then my slope is -1. So down 1, right 1. This one, since it's equal to, is going to be a solid line. And then y is greater than that. So anything above there looks like that. Then like I said, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are pretty much the same thing, except they don't say y equals. So you might have to do some work before you make them say y equals. So like for number 16, it says x plus y is greater than or equal to -3. Well, if I subtract x from both sides, now I have y is greater than or equal to -x minus 3. So you might have a step or two just before you get the y by itself here, and then it's just a normal problem. So starting at -3, and then going down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And this is going to be a solid line because it's equal to. So y is greater than or equal to that. So I'm shading above the line there. Now I'll do 17 and then be done. So I got x plus 2y is less than 4. So I need to get that x away. So now I have 2y is less than -x plus 4. And then I still got that 2 in front of the y. So I'm going to divide each side by 2. Remember, both of these get divided by 2. So -x divided by 2 is the same as -1/2 x. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now if I'm graphing that line there, so I have my 2, and then my slope is -1/2. So that's going to be down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. And then since it's a less than sign, we're just going to do dots here, not a solid line like we did on 16 because it's equal to. And anything less than that means we're going to shade below the line there. So anything less than y is less than -1/2 x plus 2.